Hey everybody, I'm Matt,
I'm Keith.
I'm Elijah.
and this is NuggetCast. All right, we're back. We're back for, which is technically episode 30 of NuggetCast. I don't know if y'all knew that.
That's correct.
But since there was a 3-year break in between episode 29 and 28, 29.
Yeah.
This is really episode 2 of the NuggetCast reboot, I guess.
It is.
NuggetCast: The Next Generation. I don't know, if we are the next generation, like who's like Jean-Luc Picard? Like,
Not me. I've
can
still got all
can I
my
be?
hair.
Well, okay.
Of course, we all do, pretty much. Well, Elijah's probably closest.
Yeah, we're not here to point fingers, man. Like, well, he's got a nice hat too. So,
I'll be Worf. I'll take that hit.
I guess you're not a Star Trek fan. We're going off in a whole tangent here.
Not
Like,
particularly. I was more of a Star Wars person.
Star Wars, yeah, okay.
It's usually one or the other,
Yes,
right?
I can support that. So yeah, if you have never seen NuggetCast before, and you're like, "What's a NuggetCast?" Well, it's the stories behind the stories of the Nugget stories. And if you don't know what the Nugget is, and you're probably really lost, but chances are you know that's the Dahlonega Nugget, the newspaper of Dahlonega. But we never know. Like, we're on YouTube right now. We're on Spotify.
It's crazy.
There could be someone watching and listening from like Nepal or something. So, So hey to the people in Nepal.
Hi, Nepal.
Hey, Nepal.
Hey there.
So yeah, I was just gonna ask you guys what you got for this week. Maybe start out with you, Keith.
Cool. Yeah. You just want me to preview here?
Yeah, maybe like quick preview.
Yeah,
Let
so
folks
last
know.
week, when it came around to me, I just did kind of a rundown of the news from the prior week's paper, but I decided to go a different route this week and kind of be more forward-looking. So I'm going to give everybody a little treat, a little sneak preview of some of the stuff that'll be discussed in next week's edition.
It's Keith's secret files. You see them right
Yep.
there.
I've got 3 secret file folders here, one for each of 3 meetings I went to Tuesday night, and they were back to back to back. I was in government meetings from 2 p.m. to 8:45 at night.
Wow,
It was a lot of fun.
And the nuggets of the future are right there in that file, in those files.
Yeah, so everybody's going to get a little advance look, so I think that'll be fun.
All right, what you got, Elijah?
So this is actually something I've kind of wanted to kind of get in the newspaper for a while, but I haven't really gotten around to it because, we're constantly busy with stuff that's going on now, so it's kind of hard to go into stuff like this. But we're going to bring in Steve Horton, which is the athletic director of all the athletic programs here at Lumpkin County. And if you're a fan of any Lumpkin County athletics, you've kind of seen the drastic changes that that we've had in the last 4 years. We went from having programs that would hope they would win games to having these teams that are coming in now that expect to win. And this Mr. Horton is one of the guys that kind of brought in a lot of the people that kind of help put everything together to kind of bring the change together and everything. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot that we can go into with this, and I think he's going to be a great guest for us.
Yeah, he's kind of like, we're kind of in the golden age, I feel like. So it's great we got him. He's a big guest for us. Another
Absolutely.
big get for NuggetCast. 2 weeks in a row. So I was thinking, since we're talking about sports, we should let the viewers and the listeners know about our athletic high school sports history.
Uh-oh.
Right? I don't know if it'll be that long of a segment, really.
Not for me,
right?
it won't.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on it last week. Your Hall of Fame cross-country career was cut short.
Yeah,
right?
my
Really short.
one-season high school cross-country career that didn't last a full season because I twisted my ankle on a rock or a tree root. Yeah, very
It's
sad.
the cross-country part that got you. You went across
Yeah.
the terrain.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. But I always did enjoy running and zooming around, and so that was fun while it lasted.
Was it here? Was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
Lumpkin
okay.
County
Yeah,
High.
you're an alum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played baseball a little, but I moved up here sophomore year of high school, and I can't remember if that was in Savannah, where I'm from, my freshman year, or if I played for Lumpkin. But if I did, it would only also been for like one season, I think.
Okay.
It was really horrible. I was horrible at both fielding and hitting, which is kind of a problem.
All right. What about pinch running? You could have been pinch running.
I actually was good. Yeah,
Yeah,
ironically,
yeah.
if I could get on base, and I did get hit by a pitch, I think once or twice, and I think I scored because I'm pretty fast.
That was my best bet in Little League, was to step into the pitch, just get on base somehow.
Yeah, solid strategy.
Right. Elijah, you.
Yeah, so I played baseball, pretty much t-ball all the way up to 9th grade, and I played left field and shortstop mostly. I was more of a fan of being in outfield. I just kind of like the fly balls, running out and catches them, and the speed aspect of everything and making the plays. It's pretty decent when it comes to hitting and everything. But really, once I got to high school, I kind of moved into something a little bit different. A lot of people wouldn't expect it, but I was actually in JROTC for actually 3 or 4 years of my high school that I went there, and I did a little bit of Raiders and that whole kind of thing. But really cool, different kind of aspect. Raiders is actually a little bit it's kind of
It's like obstacle course type stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like a culmination of all kinds of stuff kind of put together. So I kind of had that, and then I actually got really big into weightlifting as well. I mean, you wouldn't believe it now looking at me.
No, I believe it.
But my high school, I was 155, and I was bench pressing like 225, which was
Wow.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
That's awesome.
It's pretty good.
I don't think I ever got a number for my bench press.
I was horrible at bench press. That was my
Right.
least favorite exercise in weight class. I could do leg stuff, but the
Yeah.
upper body strength was not my forte.
I did cross country for a second, and I don't have many memories about. I think I wasn't bad and I wasn't good. I was probably I feel like I probably finished exactly in the middle. Like, it was never a thing. Like, I was never coached to do better or worse. I just kind of slid through. I also played a lot of basketball in my driveway. Like, I was really good at horse too. Like, I didn't make the team in 9th grade, and I never. I feel like I should have tried again, but also I remember trying out and thinking it was almost like like a bad job interview or something where you're like, hey, should we just end this right now? Like, this isn't working out. Like, it. So cross country was kind of my thing, but.
The basketball thing explains a little, because I have played you in basketball once at Uhula Creek Park casually, and you were good. I could tell you had some.
Thank you. It doesn't transfer to real games, but horse, like a backward shot, stuff like that. I'm really good at that.
I think basketball has always been my worst sport. I could play defense really well, but when it comes to actually getting the ball into the basket, that's where I always messed up.
All right, so we're bringing in the true sports expert for our county, Steve Horton. He doesn't know it. I've got this super secret sports quiz coming up for him. But since he's our sports guru, I think he'll do all right. So maybe we should just bring him on in. You think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We have Athletic Director Steve Horton here. Let's give him a round of applause.
Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Welcome.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. First off, thanks for taking time, to kind of sit down and run through everything with us. I know you're probably busy.
Always, but the opportunity to talk about and brag on some of the stuff we've been doing around here for the last few years, I will take that opportunity any chance I get.
And I think we would be crazy to not start this thing off by talking about, what we witnessed last night. Crazy game. I think arguably one of the most entertaining softball games I have been to.
Well, entertaining is a good word. Historic is a good word. Magical. But that was the first fast pitch softball region championship in Lumpkin County's history. We got to do it in extra innings. We got to watch an absolute missile get hit out of that place in arguably the biggest crowd I've ever seen at a softball game, during the regular season. It was an electric atmosphere, and our girls deserve that.
And I think we got to kind of set the stage for that too. You talk about that big hit, that that 2-run homer there. What kind of happened is Aubrey Woodson, top of the ninth, steps up to the plate, got a runner on first. We're tied up 1-1. Everybody's kind of waiting on something to happen, and then out of nowhere, she just rocket one, right out of the left field.
Well, and to get us there, Riley Dyer has 16 strikeouts in a ball game. I mean, unbelievable, and it wasn't just those two. I mean, our entire group of girls. If you watch, as an athletic director, I watch a lot more than just what happens on the field, but you watch juniors and seniors that aren't playing, that are literally hanging on the fence, screaming their hearts out and pulling for their teammates. It's an exciting time, and it couldn't have happened to a better coaching staff. Coach Jones does a phenomenal job, with those young ladies, and Coach Bicknell and Henderson and Self and Herman. I mean, it's a great coaching staff. It's a great group of girls, and they put it all together last night when it mattered and pulled out a big one.
And, when it comes to, especially a sports aspect of, covering stories, I feel like you can't tell a better story than that. First region championship, extra innings, the home run to seal it. When it comes to seeing these girls, when you get up into these extra innings, I feel like it comes down to the fight. Just the fight that they have to kind of, who wants it more, who's going to win.
No question. I literally told Riley Dyer's mom and dad, I said, I don't care what sport it is. I don't care what we're being asked to do. I want her on my team because that girl is a competitor, as are all of our girls. But just the guts and the fight, and then, Brooklyn making the throw to end the ball game. I mean, people don't understand, but that's a nerve-wracking play. Yes, it was a pretty routine ground ball, but fielding it clean, making that play in that moment, and I mean, just putting a perfect strike on Taylor at first base was just the way it was supposed to be.
I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because if you go back and watch the videos of that moment, I kind of noticed it last night. When that ball's in the air, everybody's quiet. You can just hear the life sucked out of the crowd, and then as soon as that catch is made by Taylor on first, everybody just kind of erupts, and they storm the field. And
magical. Those are things that kids will never forget. I mean, when you go back, I played high school ball, I played college ball, I played all over the place. But what you remember are those moments when it gets super quiet. Those moments when, you remember when we dogpiled everybody on the pitcher's mound. You remember when Coach Jones got doused with water. You remember the bus ride home. Rarely does anybody talk about the play that they made, or oftentimes even the home run that they hit. It's those moments with your teammates that makes it so special.
So how would you describe, just the state of athletics, when you first got here?
So, I mean, by the numbers, when I first got here, there was 54 AAA schools in the state of Georgia. We were ranked 47th out of 54. 2 years ago, we were 4th. We finished top 10 the last 3 years in a row, top 10 in the state. So we went from 47th to 4th. It was not in a great place, let's put it that way. But when you have great kids, when you have phenomenal facilities, and when you have leadership from top to bottom that's all pushing in the right direction, that's when change can truly be made. And so we were given that opportunity, and it's what we did.
And, to get to where we are now, I feel like you would have, especially from your job and, your kind of perspective, you would have to kind of put things in place to kind of, formulate these changes. So what would you say you kind of, changed up to kind of help lead to where we are now?
A lot. There's a lot of things. To put a finger on a few of them, you've seen me out and about. You've seen me in public. You've seen me at all of the different sporting events. Have you ever seen me in something that didn't say Lumpkin County? No, because I'm intentional about that. One of the things when I got here 5 years ago, it was rare to see our kids, very rare to see our faculty wearing our colors, wearing our logos, repping who we are. So, we had just gone through a branding before I got here. I thought it was fantastic. And so one of the first things we did was we rebranded the school and we gave stuff out. When I got here, it drove me nuts, and always has, that we would have kids walking through our building with White County shirts on or Dawson County shirts on or North Hall clothes on. You know, what people don't know is when I see those, I bring those kids into my office and I literally tell them, hey, if you will give me that hoodie, I will give you this brand new Lumpkin County one. If
Wow.
you will give me that T-shirt, I will give you this brand new Lumpkin County one, because I don't want those other logos and names in my building. And so there was the branding piece of it. The biggest thing that we did was we made some very key changes in our coaching staff, and we held our kids accountable. One of the things, year one, I got to come in and watch David Dowse. And a lot of people have forgotten about Coach Dowse here. I haven't. I watched the way Coach Dowse handled those girls, the way he held them accountable, how intense he was and how hard he worked. And I basically sat down with some other leaders and said, look, if you go through our coaching staff, we don't have a lot of coaches that are doing it the same way he's doing it. They went on and played and won a state championship. The next year they come back and, lose to a recruited team from Hebron that lost in the state finals. And so we really kind of took a look and we pinpointed some things that Dowse was doing that other folks weren't doing. And so we became very intentional with all of our hiring and firing. We had to let some folks go who weren't doing it the way that Lumpkin County wanted it done. So that's where a lot of the change comes from.
And, from being in that kind of role to, I guess, you want to have the say, like, when it comes to like driving a car, you want the right person to be driving, right? So when it comes to, putting these people in the right positions to be able to handle these situations and everything, how do you go about ensuring, I feel like, making the selection of like a head coach, that's a big responsibility. Like, how do you come about putting the right person there?
I've been doing this 27 years. I've been all over the state of Georgia. And I rarely look at a resume. The people that we have hired over the last 5 years, I have either known personally or I go to some of the people that I trust in this business and I say, hey, we're looking for this. And there is a coaches community out there, and a bunch of us old hats who've been doing this for a while, we talk to one another, and hey, I'm looking for this, or I'm looking for this. Coach Webb, who I'll go ahead and say is one of our best hires. Coach Webb, I coached against him. I was at Lithia. He was at North Paulding, one of the best football games that I've ever been a part of. Yes, he beat me. I know that's what you were thinking. He did. Cost us a playoff opportunity, but always respected what he did as a head coach. When we're looking for a head baseball coach, Coach Zademan never applied for this job. I called him and I said, look, I know what you did at Carrollton. I know what you did here. Would you be interested in coming and sitting down with us at Lumpkin County? Our volleyball program is headed to, the state playoffs for the first time in a couple of years. And, Matt Chisholm has never coached volleyball, but Matt Chisholm knows how to coach and he knows how to hold kids accountable. I could go through our entire staff, we've made changes just about everywhere. Coach Jones loves to talk about that he's one of the only holdovers, and he's a holdover because he's been doing it right for so long, and he does a great job. He's one of the best coaches on our staff. But we had some weak links that we needed to fix.
Awesome. And, I'm kind of glad that you brought up the girls basketball team too. I feel like, when a lot of people think about this turnaround that we have, they go straight to football, but not to take anything away from the football, what they've accomplished is, historical, astronomical, however you want to put it. But I feel like the real spark of, just the kids seeing that they could be successful here came from that group. You mentioned that, that first year when they won that state championship, if I'm not mistaken, they did so without any seniors on the team. And
No seniors, all homegrown. I went back and looked at it, and we did have a transfer on that team. Wasn't born in Lumpkin County. They came here in third grade, so that entire basketball team played together from the third grade on. And it did. I agree with you. First of all, I will never take anything away from football, and what's been going on there is amazing. And that's that's the bell cow. I mean, football's what brings the notoriety to your building. But again, a lot of the blueprint that was laid by our girls basketball program and Coach Dowse, and it gave all of our coaches, and especially for me, when you're sitting down talking to coaches, especially that first year or two, I can't tell you how many times I'd sit down with a coach and doing our end of the year evaluations, and we'd be having a hard conversation, and I'd get a lot of excuses. Well, coach, we're just not talented, and we're just not this, and we're just not that, and I'd say, well, Coach Dowse just won a state championship, and every one of them's been here since at least the third grade. So remind me again why we can't. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing. When I got here, there was a lot of we can't, we don't have those kids, we don't have those players, and honestly, that's where football has really pushed for it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Our girls basketball team that won a state championship and played for another, those girls were talented. That's a special group that doesn't come through every year or every couple of years. But football and baseball and all these other sports are making the playoffs year in, year out. And a lot of it is because of how we do what we do. So we got the right people in the right places. We started holding people accountable. We made sure that we were branding our school and that people were proud of what we were wearing. But it goes a step further. We also completely changed our philosophy of our feeder programs and our youth sports. I talked to all of our coaches at the beginning of the year about it's. I don't want you to come to the other sports and support the other sports. I expect you to be there. And if you looked last night, there were Heath Webb, head football coach, Scott DeGraff, head girls wrestling coach, Brian Richardson, head girls basketball coach. And I know I'm missing two or three others, but I mean, our coaches from other sports are there. Our middle school principal is there, Libby Armstrong. We've got people from our county office and Board of Education that go to our sporting events because it's important, and because we've built a culture and because we have built the expectation of being successful. So we don't put up with a lot of excuses.
Right. And, let's kind of get into that culture. I'm glad you kind of brought up the volleyball team too. You go for anybody that's never watched these girls play. If you ever go and watch how they get into these games, I've never seen like a team sport to where the way those girls support each other when they're out there. I mean, every play, every score, they're jumping up and down, rallying around each other, cheering each other on. It's like a next level, and I think that just kind of reflects the culture. I feel like that's kind of a little bit in everything that we do now.
100%, and I'll go a step further. Have you noticed the student section? Yes. I mean, we'll have 50 to 100 kids in a student section for volleyball. I can promise you, 5 years ago, you were lucky to have 5. But talking about things that we've done differently, every athlete in our building gets into every athletic event for free, as long as they're wearing our colors. If they're wearing something Lumpkin County, they get into every sporting event for free to support one another. Nobody else does that. They do it some in college, but no other high school does that.
That's a great idea.
Does it cost us money? Yeah, absolutely. It costs us money. It's taking money out of the kitty. But when you can talk about selling advertising, this is what I've kind of talked to our coaches about. It's a lot easier to sell advertising when I can prove that, we had, 1,100 people at a volleyball game versus 5 years ago when we had 11. You know, I mean, and I'm being obviously exaggerating, but, 5 years ago we had 30, 40 people at a volleyball game, and now we've got, 500, 600. And so businesses want to support. Well, how do you get those people there? Well, everybody wants to be around a fun atmosphere and have a good time. In our student section, they can be kind of loud and crazy and have fun. And so we let them in for free as long as they're wearing it. I can tell you that we all know who Cal Faulkner is. He's, playing at Georgia Tech. One of my most fun opportunities was making him pay last year to come to an event because he was wearing Georgia Tech stuff. And the rule is you have to wear Lumpkin County stuff. And there's no one in Dahlonega that doesn't know that Cal Faulkner was an athlete. But it goes back to that accountability piece. Look, that's not Lumpkin County stuff. You will do what we ask you to do, or there's a consequence. And his consequence was he had to go back to the car and he had to get $5 to pay to get in. I enjoyed the heck out of that.
And, let's go a little bit deeper on that culture, too. Another thing that kind of comes out of that is, I've kind of mentioned it before, but we went from having teams that would hope to win games to where we would come into these matchups and we would expect to win. So where would you say that shift in culture comes from?
So much of that comes from the coach. It comes from the head coaches, and it comes from those changes. And it comes from the fact that our coaches know that you are expected to win games. And if you're not if you're not holding your kids accountable, if you're not expecting to win games, you're not going to be here very long. And that, in public education, it's a very different concept. It's kind of a controversial concept. I'm okay with controversy. I'm okay with making hard calls. And I've had the support from the top to be able to do that. But a lot of that comes from the fact that, one, we've figured out, been there, done that. Two, Coach Webb said it best, hard work pays off. That's our football team's mantra. And so after the first couple of years, when I'm sitting there interviewing coaches and talking about prospective hires, whether it's assistants or head coaches, so much of it is, I tell people all the time, you will not outwork our kids. You will not outwork them. So no matter what you throw at them, they will do it, and you're not going to outwork them. And again, when I got here, we didn't work very hard. We're not the most talented kids in the world. We don't have 6'10" basketball players running around this place. We don't have 4'2" athletes running around this place. We have to outwork people, and that comes down to coaching. If the coaches aren't expecting it, aren't expecting that, and aren't holding people accountable for work ethic, we're never going to change. And that's where we've been blessed. Our coaches do a phenomenal job of expecting it. Our coaches, one of the other things we talk about the other programs, but it's not just that. We talk about it in the middle school. We talk about it in the rec department. Our rec football program, we have over 400 kids in our rec football program, and every one of them practices on this campus 2 to 3 nights a week. You have no idea how difficult that is from a logistical standpoint. But our rec director, Tim Tao, and I talk at least weekly, if not daily. We've got tonight, we've got homecoming this week. So we've got the sunset, we got the parade, then we got the sunset social. So I just had to kick all of the teams off the fields, in the back so that we could have our sunset social. And so then you have to make that phone call over to the middle school and okay, hey, we're going to practice at the middle school. But, talking about different things that have changed, we are truly a 6-12 program, and probably half, and we're going to get there, but probably half of our programs are K-12. And that's a big deal. Our middle school programs are expected to win. They're expected to win. And we own the Mountain League in just about every sport. I've got a great counterpart over at the middle school. Brooke Flakes does a phenomenal job with our middle school coaches and our middle school programs. But our middle school coaches are up here all the time. They're a part of all the success that we're having. So
awesome. And to kind of wrap up my questions and everything that I had for you. One thing is that's kind of come out of everything is, the implementation of, Gold City Athletics. I think a lot of people kind of scratched their head, what is that? Where does it come from? And what does it mean?
So, Gold City, obviously, Dahlonega in the native tongue means gold. And so Gold City was 5 years ago, really 4.5 years ago, kind of a rallying point, a little bit different, a little eccentric, and it was an athletic only. It was like an elite club. Like, okay, we're in the Gold City Club, and really what it is it's Long Branch, it's Cottrell, it's Blackburn, it's the middle school, it's UNG, it's the Dome, it's Christmas Saturdays in downtown Dahlonega, it's Gold Rush, and it's really a kind of a logo that just says, for us to truly have success, it takes all of us. And so whether, to be an Indian, I wasn't born an Indian. I was actually born a Cougar. That's what I was in high school and where I grew up. But I wasn't born an Indian. But, a lot of these people here were born Indians. And I think that's fantastic. But you know what? You can all be a part of Gold City. And so for us, it was a rallying cry to unify all of Lumpkin County, Dahlonega. When you see it now that's our athletic logo. That has to do with our rec football program has Gold City on the back of their jerseys now, which is kind of cool. Coach Zademan in our baseball program last year, if they had an opportunity to win a series on a Friday, they've got a Gold City jersey that I just think is super cool. It's also a marketing ploy. I'm not going to lie to you. You go to Dawsonville, and I think it's a little crazy, but they got the Ville. I like to say the villain, but that's just me. But they got the Ville. There's so many people that A-Town, and there's all these alternate jerseys and stuff. So first it was kind of something that was a little bit different, just something catchy. I still think it's a gorgeous logo. And the other big piece of it is when you wear the Gold City logo, it doesn't say Lumpkin, it doesn't say Dahlonega, but it's a very catchy logo. And so I cannot tell you how, if I'm on the square, if I'm at the outlet malls in Dawsonville, if my parents live in Beaufort, if I'm at the old Mall of Georgia, how many people say, Gold City, what is that? And I get to tell our story. So for me, it's an opportunity because it's not nearly as recognizable, but a lot of people in Atlanta and the downtown area, they don't know where Dahlonega is, and so when you wear the Gold City logo and people go, Gold City, what is that? I get to talk about it, and I'm okay with that.
So I kind of feel like one of your talent is recognizing talent. Basically, I think that's your secret. Kind of, you find the people that are talented.
Supposed to put that out there.
That's well. This leads into the pop quiz that you probably. I don't know if you knew. He doesn't know this is happening right now.
We're good to go. Let's go.
You saw my giant clipboard. So yesterday I sent some weird texts to people that are on my contact list, the poor people that work in the high school and in the school system, and asked them what sports they played in high school. So this is a pop quiz for you as a recognizer of talent. Like, I'm going to bring up some teachers, and if you can tell me what sport they played.
All right.
Okay. Well, we'll start probably kind of easy. Head football coach Heath Webb.
Heath Webb was a college football player. He played football in college. He was a multi-sport athlete in high school, and it's one of the reasons why he's so good at what he does.
Correct. You are right. All I had was football coach. You know more than I do. All right. Let's dive in a little deeper here. Pun intended. With a swim coach Luke Maloney, who is also the special education teacher.
We call him part of the dream team. One of the best we have in the building. So Luke was actually a soccer player all the way through.
Correct. That is right. He also was in the marching band. Played lacrosse too and tennis.
He also has hands down the best hair in the building.
He really does.
In case anybody's
He does.
wondering.
If we can throw up like a picture of like his yearbook photo,
I
people
can't
need
imagine,
to
but
see
great
the
hair.
mane. Yeah,
Envious, very envious here of that.
I know, right? All right, let's go with Senor Adam Rambin,
So,
Spanish teacher.
Rambin, that's a good question. I know he was a tennis player.
He was tennis coach for
Tennis
for a
coach
little
for a
while
while
too.
here.
Yeah.
I know he partook in tennis. I'm going to take a wild stab because of the Hispanic heritage. I would imagine he was probably a soccer player.
You're 3 for 3. He's a soccer player.
Nice.
Oh man, this is you're doing pretty good. You didn't even study for this. All right, how about graduation coach and softball coach Joseph Jones?
Oh, Joe Jones. So I'm very, very unathletic, so I'm going to go with chess. No, I
Captain
know,
of the chess team. Yes,
I know Jones was a baseball player growing up. His big thing is baseball, which makes him a great softball coach.
and he was basketball too. He said.
Well, he sat on the basketball team for a
Okay.
little while. Yeah.
It wasn't like a dual sport. It wasn't Deion Sanders type
No,
stuff.
no,
Okay.
he was
All
no.
Let's see. We got. How about healthcare science teacher? I hope I'm using his right
Seth
title.
Al-Hadef.
Seth Al-Hadef, who is also a mountain bike
Yes,
assistant
he is.
coach.
He
Yeah.
is. Yes, and we did. We did not do mountain biking until just recently.
Right, yeah.
Had no idea that it had that kind of following and that it was that big a deal.
It's really taken off.
If you go into the front lobby right now, I would be willing to bet you that very few high schools have their state championship mountain biking trophies displayed right next to all of their other GHSA sports. But I'm glad you brought that up because they're not on campus and they don't do it on campus. But they're just as important because they're all our kids, and they get it. It's just a different knack of kids. Al-Hadef. I'm gonna go with a runner there. I bet he was a track guy.
You're close. He's cross country.
Okay,
Also,
distance runner?
I mean, his main sport, he said, was baseball.
I could see that.
Yeah.
You know what? I can see that.
Can you pick a position for?
I would probably go shortstop.
Well, it's second base,
Yeah,
middle
that makes
infield.
sense.
Yeah.
Well,
he's
rather
got- he's-
short.
Well, and he's got that scrappiness to him.
He
I feel
absolutely
like,
does. Ball of energy. That
Right.
guy never slows
Right.
down. He actually, my son was in his class, and my son still tells fun stories about Dr. A, and every kid loves having his class.
Right. Yeah, and he rides his bikes all over the place.
All
Like
over the place.
I don't
I
know
honk
if he,
at him a
I
lot.
think he owns a car, but I just see him, on
It's
a
more
bike
fun.
all the time.
It's more fun with his silly helmet.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to the administration. Sharon Head, superintendent.
Cheerleader. Got a cheerleading uniform in her office.
Oh, okay, you're right. That's exactly right. All right, now this is really deep dive here. Jason Limley, director of secondary curriculum.
Wow.
This is your final question.
Oh, man.
That's a
you're gonna
tough
save
one.
the best
It's a
for
tough one.
last. Huh. I mean, you could have gone Greg Trammell, and I could have told you NASCAR and racing. Yeah, man, Limley.
2003 Lumpkin County graduate.
I would be willing to bet you that, well, let's see. Limley a basketball player?
He was the yearbook editor. So.
See, that's
Trick
a
question.
Sorry, no sports, no
Good.
sports.
Okay,
he did play Parks and Rec though. He did.
Okay. Yeah,
Basketball,
that one
baseball.
got me. You win
Right.
that one.
Okay. All right. Well, you passed. You
Thank you.
passed.
That's
It's a
good.
pass or fail. And I say you
Good.
passed it.
That's what I like to hear.
Thank you for that. And thanks for coming by. It was
Anytime.
awesome.
If you can't tell, I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. I'm super appreciative of what you guys do for our community, for our kids, and I love the nuances that you brought. Sometimes I get mad because I'm like, why didn't I ever think about bringing a championship belt out here? That thing's it's super cool, and the kids think that that's so cool, and and that's the key. The key is that I feel like we're all on the same team. I feel like we're all working towards the same goal, and so I can't tell you how much our community appreciates you, and what a great job you guys do for all of our athletic programs.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
Thank you for your time also.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, that was Steve Horton. That was awesome. He kind of made me want to play a sport.
I know. I
don't
want
know
to
if
join
can
a
keep
team
up.
now, and I'm too old.
Yeah,
It's horrible.
I know. I don't know if they have like adult. Well, they have rec league. Maybe maybe there's hope for
Pickleball.
us. Pickleball. Yeah, that's right.
Nugget pickleball team.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm good at that yet. I haven't figured that
There's
out.
hope. All right, so you got your secret files here. They've been sitting
do.
this whole time.
They've
that
been sitting here idle
people
this
at
whole
YouTube
time.
probably been looking at, and
Three file folders of goodness from 3 different meetings, as I mentioned before, all taking place on the same day. And I'm just going to run through them real quick in the order that the meetings happen. And interestingly, I selected this because all 3 meetings had at least a segment that was very much related to the growth issue that we've talked about a lot lately and that we discussed last time. So I'll dig right in without further ado. The first meeting that I went to that day was the Lumpkin County Water and Sewerage Authority meeting. I'd been to one of these before, but obviously it's not as big as like your regular BOC meeting or something like that. So I don't make every one, but I'm glad I showed up to this one because it was very relevant to the issue of growth in the county. As I wrote about recently in the paper, Commissioner Stringer brought up the fact he serves on the BOC, of course, and on the Water and Sewerage Authority. And he was bringing up the fact that the wastewater treatment plant has an allocation limit that will naturally help to control residential growth in the county, at least large-scale sewer-based growth. And that allocation is no more than 60% of the plant can be utilized for any purpose, and that can include industrial, commercial, or residential, while the remaining 40% is reserved for only industrial and commercial, no residential. And Commissioner Stringer's been arguing that is a way to help control residential growth and they want to bring in more commercial is kind of what their goal is. So anyway, this was partly brought up at this meeting. Water and Sewerage Authority Director Sean Phipps reviewed the, let's find the right agenda item here. He mentioned an Etowah Water and Sewer Authority guidelines, and it's an industry standard for kind of estimating sewer and water usage for a development that hasn't come in yet. Because if they're going to limit it by the amount of gallons that can go to any development, you have to kind of have an idea of what they're going to use, and they haven't opened yet, right? So it's a projection.
Okay.
Well, they use this one sheet here, or they have been using historically, to calculate that estimate. The ANOTA sheet I mentioned earlier. This is it. You're not going to be able to read it from way back there. But what Mr. Phipps was basically informing the board is that he no longer feels like that sheet is adequately representing the future use in reality. He said that it's a very conservative number, meaning it overestimates the potential usage of a development, because he said that the system has to be able to handle the flow at like peak times. He said that there's ebbs and flows to sewer usage based on when people get ready for work, leave for work, and then come back in the evening. So it makes sense from an infrastructure perspective to use the more conservative numbers. So he said you don't have an incident where your sewer lines leak due to overflow. However, if you use those same numbers to project the future need, he said it overestimates, meaning he's concerned that they're going to be prematurely saying that their allocation's used up when there would still be capacity left in reality. So it was interesting. He's recommending, he didn't have a proposal ready, but he requested, the board's permission to pursue a new model for projecting that usage. So I just thought that was interesting, since that issue's been coming up lately, that's a means of control for the growth. And one last thing he mentioned, Mr. Phipps, that he did kind of acknowledge that it's unusual to use sewage capacity to control growth. He said that's kind of unique to our county. That's not a commonplace method to. And I think that, because of that, he's having to take a hard look at how they do those projections.
Right. So, and growth is such a big issue. We could write about it and we do write about almost every edition.
Nearly.
Yeah. So it's speaking about 5 years ago, how the sports programs were here. 5 years ago, if you were standing on the corner of 400 in front of the Home Depot and you snap your fingers and it's today, and it's all of a sudden, whoa, there's Publix, there's a Jersey Mike's. I don't think Jersey Mike's is open yet. There's the hospital. And so this is all it's a kind of a window into what it's going to look like maybe another 5 years from now.
And Mr. Phipps used the specific example of the Home Depot and Publix shopping centers that they haven't been using so far what they projected they would use when they first came on.
Gotcha.
Before they came online. So, it's really interesting for sure. So are we ready to go on to the second one?
Let's move to folder number
meeting
2.
number 2. This was Lumpkin County Board of Commissioners, same building. It was at 4 p.m. that same day. So I just pretty much moved from the one meeting upstairs. And this one, of course, a general work session where they do discussion of items. There was no voting that took place at this session. But you get a preview of what they're going to be voting on later this month. Of course, there's a lot of different things. I'm not going to go through all of it. The main thing I wanted to talk about today was item number 29 on that agenda, which was discussion on the character area map amendment for the United Family Homes development there at the end of 400, at 460 on the corner. We've been talking about that a lot. That came before the board last month. And the board,
heated hearing, right?
It was a heated hearing. Chairman Dockery was absent. He was at another meeting, so Vice Chair Stringer presided. And it was a heated hearing, and in the end, they voted to table it for a month. So now we're in October, and we're back reviewing it. So I was really interested in what the board would have to say, if anything, during this discussion portion. So I went ahead and transcribed what was said just about that one agenda item. And I'll read a very short thing here. When it came up, Chairman Dockery asked if there was any discussion among the board. And nothing was said right away, so the chairman went ahead and made a comment. He said, I did have one thing that was kind of new to me. He asked the county clerk to pull up a slide. And it showed the concept, I think it was a DOT concept, I'm not sure, but it was for the entrance to the property that they're going to be adding on Highway 60 to enter the property. And he said, one thing, when you look at what was presented originally, and he showed the ridge before and after the proposal, and then what GDOT, I guess, came back with, because he's already gotten that entrance approved, apparently, through GDOT. He said you can see in the original a normal entrance with a right turn and a left turn. If you look at the new one approved by the Department of Transportation, coming onto the state highway, it has a right turn in and a right turn out, which, to be honest, is concerning to me, he said, because if you have 140 different residents, 100 different residences in there, some of these, when they get to Highway 60, are going to want to make a left turn. So if you're forced to make a right turn, then where do you make a U-turn, and what kind of traffic concerns is that going to cause? So apparently the chairman's not entirely happy with that entrance plan. He then asked if any of the other commissioners had any other thoughts. Commissioner Green said he agreed, but then none of the other commissioners really chimed in. And I have to be honest, editorializing a little here, is I wish there was more discussion. I mean, like you said, this was a highly contentious issue. It brought a lot of the standing room only hearing last month. And I would have thought most discussion takes place during the work session.
You mean discussion amongst the commissioners?
Amongst the
right?
commissioners themselves about what they're thinking, what their thoughts are. And because at the regular voting meeting, it's more voting than discussion. By
Right.
then, most of them have already made up their minds,
Yeah.
let's be honest. So I would have liked to have heard more from some of the other commissioners and, not necessarily how they're going to vote later this month, but kind of what their state of thinking is. I would have appreciated that.
Do you think? Okay, so we've had hearing after hearing, packed hearings. Are you getting a vibe where people maybe they just don't want to say it because you might make people mad at what
Yeah.
you're standing? Really, it's kind of like there's no either you approve the thing and then you make some people mad, or you don't approve the thing and you make some people mad. There's no way you're going to make everybody happy, but. Do you think there's a vibe of that going on where like they're not just you just need to put it all out there and it's not happening?
Yeah, I do. I think some of these things it's just easier to just go in and vote on it and then deal with the repercussions later than to kind of project and deal with the public's complaints beforehand. But it's not that Chairman Dockery's point wasn't well taken. I think it's an interesting point, and it wasn't made at the last month's hearing by anyone.
Right,
so
right.
I'm not dismissing his observation at all. I just think, it didn't really say much about how either he or the other commissioners felt about the rest of the deal.
And where this vote could be going.
And where the vote
basically.
could be
Right.
headed. So, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but that's definitely one to watch at that
Right.
upcoming regular session.
Okay.
So that's all for that one, and we've got one more meeting, and this one was a city meeting.
This was the big one, right?
This was the big one for that
Grand
day.
finale of your meeting.
It was the grand
trio
finale in
trilogy.
more ways than one. It occurred at 6 p.m. in City Hall, and this was the City of Dahlonega Planning Commission's regular meeting, plus a public hearing portion at the beginning. And both, there was only one item of business, and it was the Overlook of Dahlonega development. This has also been in the news here locally recently.
Right.
This is the development with the entrance right across from Clay Creek Falls
Right.
Road.
With the possibility of 160 units, 160 homes is what we were. Or is it
This
more than
one
that?
is a mixed use, so it's kind of complicated. It would be 132 detached single family homes, 136 townhomes,
Okay,
and
so-
17,000 square feet of commercial building
So
space.
about 260, but we put it in the headline, I think, right?
Yeah, I think
Now
we
I'm
added those two
right,
numbers
remembering
to get a
correct. Okay.
total number of units, but they'll be different sizes,
Gotcha.
obviously. So this one, we were able to do a little sneak preview in advance the week prior in the Nugget, and we're not always able to get those documents ahead, but we were, and so that was good. And the turnout was as high as I expected. It was packed, standing room only.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, City Hall is a little smaller venue than the county, but
Right.
it was still a sizable turnout.
Got to ask, did you get front row
I
seating?
did.
You did? All right.
I did, and I was running late. I mean, I got there on time, but just a couple minutes prior to start. But there was still an empty seat because no one wants to sit.
No one
up
wants
front.
to. It's like church. No one wants to sit in the front row. Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to go over this real quick. I'll be reporting on this in more detail next week. But it's one of those deals where the developer, in this case Warren Welch, got to present the proposal. And this is a weird one. This is the one that it was advertised in our paper by the county as a rezone.
Right.
But then almost immediately, the city started kind of pushing back with me and saying, well, it's not really a rezoning. But I thought that was strange because that's what it was called. Well, this meeting shed some light on that discrepancy. It is technically a rezone in that that's the type of meeting it is. But they kept saying Allison Martin, the city manager, introduced kind of a new term to me, at least, called downzoning. She said, technically, this is really more of a downzoning. And the reason for that is this property was zoned PUD, Planned Unit Development, I believe it stands for, district, way back in either 2008 or 2009. I have to double check that, but a long time ago. And it was going to be even larger. It was going to be a 55 and up retirement community with 511 units plus the commercial.
Right.
So it was going to be substantially larger. Somehow, and I'm still trying to find more details on this, that deal fell through. And whether this is that original developer owner or a different one, this is a downsized proposal from that, obviously,
Right.
200 something
Cut in
units.
half, pretty much.
Cut in half. And the developer argued that he was doing that in response to city planning documents and visions and so forth. And they also did away with the 55 and up designation. So this would be open to anyone, this new revised plan. So it's an amended PUD. You're going from a PUD zoning to a different PUD. And the reason for it's even required at all, because it's not technically changing the zoning of the property, is because a PUD, you have a specific site plan tied to the approval. And it's unique to that zoning. And here's the thing that I found, it's permanent. So that's why, even though this was done so long ago, it didn't sunset. And the zoning for that 511 unit development is still in place.
Right. From pretty much 20 years ago.
Right. It never goes away. So basically, the developer had the advantage of being able to argue accurately, I guess, that he could, in theory, they could go back and do the larger model if this amendment is not approved. So, no one spoke in favor. I don't believe there was one person spoke in favor after the applicant, Mr. Vic Dover, who's interestingly also on the Water and Sewerage Authority board. And then the rest were all either neutral or in opposition, and many different residents spoke in opposition. But it became apparent that the writing was on the wall at a certain point, and that because that larger plan was looming in the background, that this smaller plan was going to pretty much get approved because the other alternative's even worse. Do you want even more cars? Mm-hmm. But I will say that it was kind of sad hearing some of the residents' pleas that lived on Clay Creek Falls Road. There's a gentleman that works at Parks and Rec. He commutes every morning to work. He lives on Clay Creek Falls. And he's really concerned that with the entrance to one of the two entrances to this proposed development being directly across from Clay Creek, that it's going to make it even harder for him and his wife to turn left out of there in the morning to come towards town to work. He said traffic's already sometimes backing up, all the way down there on Dawsonville Highway. So there was also concerns about the rural scenic nature of the Clay Creek Falls Road itself being disturbed by people potentially cutting through, using Clay Creek Falls as a cut through to get to Oak Grove and go into town that way.
Like the make your own bypass type
Make
thing,
your own
which we
bypass,
do
maybe
around here.
Yeah, that gets done a lot. But I don't think it's been a huge problem with Clay Creek to this point because of how windy the road is. It's a very curvy road, 2-lane road. So it's not well suited for that purpose, but I could see if traffic remains an issue on the main highway that it could be used as a diversion, and people are concerned about accidents and then, just disturbing the quiet beauty of that scenic road.
Yeah.
One person I remember called it like the crown jewel of, the city. It's a really pretty drive. So I did feel bad about that, knowing that, now ultimately the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval. Okay. But of course, this does have to go before the full city council or the city council.
Because they don't make the official decision; they just make the recommendation.
Correct. They just make a recommendation. But
Here's
so
what
far,
we think you should do.
They did vote unanimously to recommend, but many of the members indicated in remarks that the only reason they were doing so is because they were kind of afraid of the alternative, which would be even worse.
Gotcha.
And before wrapping up, I just want to say that this whole thing kind of makes me a little skeptical of the PUD zoning in general. I feel like, why would you want to lock yourself into a specific site plan with no expiration? Because then if something falls through with the developer, the issue is not back in 2008 or 2009, the county was much smaller and the city was much smaller, and perhaps a 511 unit subdivision was desirable at that point. But this has been so much time down the road that may simply not be the case anymore, but you have no choice because this was entered into and is kind of a permanent rezone. So I'm not sure I really love that zoning. I'm not quite sure what the point of it is, but maybe I'll learn more about that going forward.
Yeah, it's a different world. I actually worked for the Nugget in 2008, and I remember there were times like there's developments that I remember writing stories about. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and they're approved and they never happen.
It happens a lot, from what I understand.
There's one that comes back to me every once in a while. We have like an equestrian park that is approved. I think it's approved for like near, kind of like close to, not too close to Achasta, but like in that area.
Oh, really?
And just never, I wrote a story about it. It's supposed to be a big deal. Never heard anything about it because really like when 2008 hit, like lots of plans went sideways.
That's true.
So,
oh wow, I didn't even make that connection. That could be what happened here.
I'm
as
sure
well.
that's what it was.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that was a market meltdown year.
So
2008.
Yeah, it's same
financial
thing.
crisis.
Like what we're seeing. We feel like all our Nugget stories are like feel very important now. Letting people know what could be happening, and if they want to say something about it, show up. Tell your representative.
I think that's why it was frustrating for the residents that did show up to this meeting when they realized, when it sunk in, that being in opposition to it really could result in something even worse, and it was probably quite disappointing for them to realize that. And I understand that frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I would like to dig in and find out how this happens so they could be prevented from happening again in the future.
Well, so the next. I guess that comes up for a vote. Do we know when that is? Like at the next
the city vote?
The city vote.
I believe it is the 20th of this month.
Okay, gotcha. Well, anyways, that was 8 hours of meetings for you?
It felt like it. Because each of them was, multi-hour. It wasn't
kind of like a Lord of the Rings trilogy of
my brain was mush.
City county meetings for you to sit there, right? Well, but thank you for what you're doing.
No problem. Thank you.
And I guess that brings it into NuggetCast for the week. Now we are on YouTube, which you might be watching us right now. We're on Spotify. If you like us, then tell folks and share if you don't mind.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, give the
on the
thumbs
video.
up.
I've always wanted to say that.
Right. And also, we'll share it on our Instagram and Facebook and all that. But thanks for watching. I guess we're gonna go play pickleball or something now. Like maybe.
Sounds good to me.
Let's give it a try. Okay. Thanks, y'all. See you.
Bye.